Welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Quinn Jacobson. If you don't know that by now, you should if you're watching these or listening to these at any time. But this is what I call the Studio Q show, and this is live. And if you're here, it's going to be a good time because we've got a couple of people. We're going to review some photos. We're first going to talk a little bit about how we approach looking at photographs and critiquing them or criticizing them or reviewing them. It is a skill. Not everyone is adept or good at doing this. And the main reason is because when you show a photograph and you say, oh, I like it, it's cool, or it looks good, or what lens did you use, really doesn't help the artist or photographer. So we're going to try to get into some of that. Hey, Patrick. Hello from France. Used to watch past Q shows afterwards on YouTube. Happy to join live. Good. Welcome, Patrick. Welcome. And stormy, rainy weather now. Oh, no, Jan, look at what I've got. I'm in the mountains, and I've got pure sun and, 10, 12 degrees. So I'm good to go. I'm extremely busy, as you might guess. My house is in progress. My wife is over there right now. So we're going to keep this to an hour, but it's going to be a good hour and it's going to be packed with information. Will, good to see you, brother, man. Good to see Sasha in here. Jan, I'm a little afraid Quinn is reviewing my work. Well, we'll talk about that. Don't, there's nothing to be afraid about me. I try to help people. I try to encourage people. I don't really, we don't really want to get into that whole scene of, critiquing photography or critiquing art, period, is not about ad hominem or attacking the person. It's about critically reviewing the work. What's good, what's bad, what could be better, what might be better, and trying to help the artist or photographer. That's why people have critiques, right? You want to know if you live on an island and all you do is make photographs and show them to your friends and family, they're all going to love them. Everybody's like, love, like, everybody's going to do that. That's not really going to help you. What's going to help you is getting around your peers, other professionals, other artists, other photographers, and have them give you an honest review of your work. Have them ask questions, have them comment, on the technical aspect of it, whatever it is that you need or want help with. That's what a good critique does. You walk away not defeated or disheartened. You walk away with, whoa, that's some really good information. I've never thought of that. I've never heard that. I've never had anybody tell me that. Those are good critiques where it's positive, where it's good. It doesn't always have to be like, gold star material. Everybody gets a gold star kind of thing. You can be honest. You can be professional and courteous and say, well, if I were you, I might think about, in the context of this work, I might think about this or that, or have you ever thought about doing this or approaching it this way? Whether it's technical, whether it's how it's displayed, whether it's the concept of the work, whatever it is, there's a lot of good ways you can give positive and constructive, what it's called constructive feedback, not hardcore, nasty feedback. Let's see. Let's make sure we don't have anything going on there. And let's jump over. We're going to jump right into this thing. And I'm going to go over here and open another window. And we're going to open up a little bit of just a walk through kind of approach to critiquing photographs. I hope you guys like this. I think you will. I think you'll get something out of it. Let me find my folder. And let's go over here and say, share that bad boy. Boom. I got to look through my bifocals to do this because I'm so close to the computer here. There it is. Share that baby. Go back over. And let's go view, present, and boom. So you guys have seen this. This is what we talking about today. So we're going to do showing your work 3 things. That's the first thing I'm going to talk about is how do you approach this idea of critiquing work? And again, not everyone is equipped to do this, right? Not everyone has the ability, and I mean to give constructive criticism. Everyone can say, oh, I like it, I don't like it, but very few can give valid, rational reasons why those things are. So we're going to look at those. So here are the three things. This is what I believe. You can decide for yourself after we look at this, and then look at a couple of people's work, and we'll use this as a guideline so you have something, some basis to work from. So I say, when we talk about showing your work week, can you tell I'm tired? When we talk about showing your work, we typically mean allowing a broad, diverse audience to read and look at the work in context, and we have some understanding of the intention. So think about the following. 1, context. What is the story or narrative of the work? What is the most important for the viewer to know before looking at your work? And why is that important for them to know? So when you come up cold to an image and you have no information about it, what you're going to do, like every human being does, you're going to project your own life experiences onto that photograph. You're going to view that photograph through your own lenses. So without context, without the creator or the artist telling you what this image is about, you're going to make that up. Okay, you're going to bring, oh, that reminds me of when I was a kid and would go to the lake, or that looks like a place over here or over there, or, what process is that? What lens did you use? What chemistry did you use? That kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, context is king. We need to know what we're looking at in context, right? So that's really important. And I always say this, you don't walk into an hour-and-a-half movie 40 minutes into the movie, right? You don't open a 400-page book up to page 200, open it up to 200 and start reading. You need the full context of the image. So that's really important. Number 2, intention. What is or was the artist's mind, in the artist's mind when the images were created? What is the conceptual intention or the subtleties about the work the viewer needs to know? This is really important. I think a good example of this that some of you might connect with and relate to is a couple of weeks ago, or I don't even know how long ago now, there's a gentleman that came on and shared his work, and I apologize, I don't remember his name. But it was the, maybe I'll think of it. It was the 90-some-year-old gentleman that looked like Einstein with the clock behind him that looked like a halo. The intention, when that was brought forth, I saw people light up, right? You connected the dots. It was about, he was showing it, and forgive me if I don't have this exactly right, but I believe he was showing it in the context in a gallery with another artist that was showing birth, and he was kind of showing death. Right? That kind of thing. So the context, the intention, really, really important and critical to know before. I mean, it's like you being in a foreign place, somewhere where you don't know, and you have a vehicle and they say, drive to here. And they give you a card with a restaurant name on it. And you're like, I don't know the streets. I don't know how to get around here. Know the traffic laws. All that is context, the roadmap, the intention. Those are really critical tools to have. And like I said, critiquing photographs is a skill. It's not everyone's opinion is not equal in this game, okay? People that critique or critics of art and photography, there's some people that'll badmouth a lot of them, and some of them aren't really legitimate, but most of them have an understanding of these ideas, the context and intention, and bring that forth, and then connect the dots historically, right? I try to thread my work back through the 19th century. I try to thread my work into art, period. Painting, different types of movements. So the more you have, the more information you have that you can draw on, once you know the context and intention of the work, the more you can give feedback on ideas and approaches about the work. And that's what a good critic does, right? And then 3, the viewer is more inclined to spend time with the work if the artist shares his or her background, especially if it's connected to the work they're looking at. And this is really important for me. I believe I believe every artist or photographer should have a dog in that fight, as we say in English, or skin in the game is another idiom, meaning that you should be directly connected to the work somehow. In other words, if we're talking about fine artwork, and I'm not talking about commercial work here, it doesn't matter who makes that. It's a job, somebody's product or information that you're trying to come up with a concept for. That's a different story. It doesn't matter who you are, as long as you have the talent to create something interesting for them. I'm not talking about commercial work. I'm talking about fine art, personal work that you make because you have a question, a concern, a burden, a love, a hate, whatever it is that's driving you and motivating you. You should be able to connect your own personal life experience and even yourself as a human being into that work and engage that way. So an artist statement is obviously very important. Without it, people are guessing and making things up about the work, like I said. And why wouldn't they? If you walked into a room full of photographs with no information about them and you look at them, I used to say, I refuse to do the artist's intellectual work, right? I mean, I refuse to do that, because if you don't have anything to say about the work, what the hell do I have to say about it, right? I mean, that's really crucial, that you have something to say about the work. You have a purpose, you have content, you have intention. You should be able to talk about, not only talk about, but defend that work in the context of a critique. You should be able to do that. Now, if you've never had critiques, if you've never been involved in university or courses or informal critiques or reviews with people, and you're new to this, that's not what we're doing today. I'm giving you information to work toward and think about as you make your photographs and you present them to the public. Social media is great, I guess. This connection is great to have this. Technology is wonderful. All right. It is. It allows me to do a lot of things that I wouldn't be able to do otherwise. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. At the same time, on the other side, you have people that are encouraged just to post photographs on social media, wherever, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and not give any information about it, right? They just post them and be, oh, that's cool, blah, 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 without any context or intention behind the work. And that promotes this kind of, I want to call laziness. I want to call, it encourages apathy. Apathy meaning, no, I don't care. It was a cool shot. It was, the light was cool. I'm using this cool process. It looks really cool after I photographed or scanned it. And I put it up on Facebook or social media and I get likes and oh, cool. That's, you think about that. I mean, the adulation's great, right? You're getting your ego stroked a little bit, and you're getting probably what most of your family and friends give you anyway, is that positive kind of, there's no constructive criticism there. So now you've extended that out into strangers and hundreds or thousands of people looking at the work, and all you're doing is getting adulation. So what that encourages you to do is to do more of that. And then if you're emulating, or if you're making kind of derivative work that's been done already, and you're copying someone, and you've got some kind of stylistic thing going without any context or intention, just merely copying someone, that encourages that same kind of thing going on. So the bottom line here is, without thinking, without talking about what the work is about, your intentions behind the work, they're just more photographs, right? They're just billions of photographs just puking out every single day, just with, boom, 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 iPhones and, droids and all that stuff, electronic images. So think about these three things: context, intention, and the artist statement or bio. So having said that, let's make sure we're in here. I got to see, I have these bifocals now. Hey, Tom, good to see you. Renzo made it, and Karsten made it, and who else? There's a whole, Drew and Christina. Hello from Bucks County, PA. Hello, Drew and Christina. Good to see you guys as well. Eric, yes, Eric. Thank you. Eric Retterbush. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for that. That was the gentleman I was talking about, the Einstein with the halo, and then he gives intention and where the work is going and all that. You can start to see how important that is, right? I mean, God, how do I say this? Photographers get away with murder when it comes to this stuff, because we can just puke out thousands of images without any information about them, and either people like them or they don't or whatever. But if you're a writer, if you're a musician, if you're a sculptor, if you're a painter, there's some regulation, if you will, involved with how you approach the medium and why you use certain things. In other words, a lot of mediums force you into doing this where photography necessarily doesn't. Okay? So let's say I can't just string a bunch of letters together and say that's a word. And I can't string those letters together with multiple of those and say that's a sentence or a paragraph. There's some construct to that, right? There's some sentence structure. There's some regulation to do that. With photography, how about filmmaking, right? I know, and people are going to push back on this and say, no, there's abstract movies that have no plot and you just go in and watch them. And, I get it. I'm talking in the general sense. Movies, books, writings, music usually have a beginning, a middle, and an end. They have some story or some narrative going on. As abstract or as weird as it might be, whether you like it or you don't like it, it doesn't really matter. It has some form to it. So that's really important to know, or not know, we all know that, but that's really important to understand when it comes to the context and intention in photography. I don't think it's fair for us to go out and pop an image off and take it back in Lightroom or Photoshop or do all this HDR stuff to it and make it magical and blah, 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 and then post it up. And those are just kind of superficial, aesthetically pleasing for a second images. A little dopamine hit, maybe, just a little bit, right? And then you go on to the next one, you go on to the next one, you go on to the next one. We're talking about serious art, if you will. I know that sounds pretentious as hell, but we're talking about, let me rephrase that. We're talking about artists and photographers that have something to say, and they want to be able to do that effectively, in a compelling way, in an interesting way, and engage the audience. Of course you want an audience. And I call bullshit on people that say I make photographs and I don't care if people look at them or not. No, I don't believe that. I really don't believe that, because at the end of the day, we are storytellers. Artists are storytellers. And I actually believe art should be socially active on top of that, right? So that's my personal belief. You don't have to have that. But what I'm saying is, in order to make sense of the work, or people coming to see your work, you've got to give them some information. You've got to give them some premise of what they're looking at, some ideas what they're looking at. I don't need put a leash on them and a bull ring in them and guide them down. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about giving them some path to explore in a narrative or a story form that, if the work is done well, could be compelling, could make them think a little bit, could make them just flip out about an idea or a concept they've never thought about or heard about before, right? So those are really, really critical ideas and things that you want to watch for, or think about rather, when you're putting your work together. So, like I said, how to criticize photographs. And a few weeks ago, we did a little review on Terry Barrett's book, How Criticizing Photographs. It's a really good book. I don't agree with everything in it, but look at, if you have it or you can get access to it, you should read that. It's not very big. It gives you some ideas of what we're talking about here. A lot of this is kind of pulled from everywhere. I like everything, I try to diversify and look at all kinds of ideas. But so, according to the dictionary, critique means to evaluate a theory or practice in a detailed and analytical way. Says nothing about the person. Attack the person. Don't attack the person. Don't do that, because it doesn't mean anything. It's not relevant. The artist is relevant only in the context of telling us about the work. And Merriam-Webster defines to express your opinion about the good and bad parts of something. That's a little more vague. Like, we're interested in opinions, but only really informed opinions or insightful opinions, not opinions like I like it or I don't like it kind of thing. So have you ever had your photographs critiqued before? If you have, do you remember receiving feedback that wasn't too useful? Perhaps it's because the one giving feedback didn't understand the context and intention of your work. And that's here again. We come to the end of this and we say the purpose of giving a review or a critique or criticizing work is to help the photographer, help the artist make better work, more compelling work, tighten up the idea, flesh out ideas around the project or the ideas of the work. You know, those are the positive things about a critique. I have had work critiqued and that have changed my direction of my work, literally. So it's super, super important to have that done. So, or to have that in mind. Critique with the intention to help. Give a why when commenting on technique. That's really important. So one thing I'd like to try to do is stay away from these kind of vague, I like it, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. I mean, you can say that, but if you really want to help the people, have more to say than that and think about why you're saying that. And of course, avoid personal bias. We don't we don't want to attack the people or the person making the work. We want to criticize or critique the photographs. Avoid altering the message. This is really, really critical. You don't want to change the direction, if you will, of what the artist or photographer wants to say about the work. In other words, it's not your responsibility to change the direction. It's your responsibility to help the artist or photographer think about what they're doing and give ideas surrounding or their story or their photographs. And you're not there to tell them what their photographs are about, because at the end of the day, they make the work, right? And, you know, again, here I go. Avoid short statements that offer no direction. Let's be honest, we've all done this, or at least most of us have statements like, I like it, it's beautiful, it works for me. Nice to hear, but may be too lacking. Unless the photographer just wants a compliment rather than a critique, you would want to give more information. I hope that makes sense, right? I hope we have a good understanding of what we're going to be talking about today and how we want to talk about the work. And I appreciate, first off, I appreciate both Jason and Sasha coming on here. You know, we have 50, 60 viewers at any time. I don't know, what do we have? We have 20. Okay, we have about half of that right now, 25 or 26 people in here. It doesn't matter how many people we have in here. This will live online forever. So people will dig this up and find it years from now and listen to it or watch it. And so a lot of people will come back through this video and watch it or listen to it. And let's see if we can give both Jason and Sasha some constructive, good feedback. And we're going to take some time to look at their images, because we want to, I got to take Jan's rainy weather comment down. Where is that? we want to make it worth their time. But at the end of the day, we have to have a little time with the work too, right? I mean, we have to be able to see what's going on. So let's start. I don't know Jason, and I hope I pronounce your last name Chichin, correct? You can unmute yourself, Jason. We need to hear you.
It's Chin Chen, just as it's spelled.
Chin Chen. Okay, welcome, Mr. Chin Chen. Jason.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for sharing your work with us. So I'm going to turn this over to you for a few minutes, and you can start. I've done nothing to the images of both he and Sasha sent me. I just put them up, put their name, and if they wanted a link to their stuff, you can see his Analog Tintypes on Instagram. You can look at more of his work. I'm going to let Jason go ahead and give a little information on what we're about to see.
Sure. Well, this image in particular,
however you want to construct it, and we're going to try to give you constructive feedback on it.
Gotcha. Well, first of all, I appreciate being here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for doing this. I've been a photographer since high school, but I just got into wet plate just over 2.5, 3 years ago now. And I'd been away from photography altogether for a long time. But I think for me, my biggest motivation is to connect with people, and for me, the action of making the photograph with that person is really important. So all the information you've already presented this morning has been really helpful and useful to me already, because I think I could definitely spend more time thinking about what it is that I want to convey. Really, I usually just try to get with somebody, especially when I'm making portraits, which is mostly what I do, and I ask them to tell us a story through their eyes. So for me, I leave it open to interpretation in that way, and I just want to technically make a good image, and hopefully something comes through that people can feel something.
What are you trying to make us feel? What is it you're trying to make us feel?
Again, I think it's that word connection to each other. I think that's important to me when it comes
could you just go into a little more? I mean, for me, those are really vague terms, and we get it on the surface, right? It does sound good, okay. But let's dig down a little bit and say connection to each other in what way? What is the ultimate goal here, Jason? What if you could have your way, showing this a beautiful photograph of a beautiful young woman. Her freckles are shining through. She's powerful. It's a beautiful photograph. Okay, there I just did that. But tell us what you mean by connecting. Tell us what's the ultimate thing you want to have happen when you post these, or when you send them to me. You know that this audience is going to see them. What is it that you want them to understand or connect with this person or these people?
Yeah, I guess for me, it's really about seeing past all of the politics and all the BS and all the things that we live with every day, and I'm just going to use that word again, connect with each other in a way that I guess the deeper word.
Say that again. Love. It would be what? Love. Okay.
Love. Yeah, I want us to see each other as humans.
For what reason? Where are we going? Let's just boil all that away and say, what's the end result of this? We want to love of course. We want to connect. We want to love. We want that thing. What is that?
Mm-hmm. To heal the world, to heal all of our scars. So for me, that's where I'm coming from. Now, a lot of times I make these portraits at events. I just moved to Canada, but when I was in Oregon, I was doing these events monthly, public events, and people would come and sit for me. This one was a private sitting. I just invited this person because I liked how she looked, and she, like you said, is powerful and beautiful. And we made a bunch of really neat images together. Again, I kind of wish I would have picked better images, and my wife told me that. She's like, "Oh, you kind of picked boring images,
I agree.
So I already got the critique, but so she's walking. Hi, I love you.
I want you though. I want you to, and I am not in any way, shape, or form going back on my word about. Sorry, we have a little feedback. Sorry, 1 sec. I am not going back on my word at all. But what I would like to hear from you, Jason, is, and I get it, right? I'm a portrait photographer, have been for 3 decades. I understand this. I get this. To make a photograph of a person that they translate on that plate, it is a powerful feeling. It is a connecting feeling. I've had people cry in the dark room watching their images come up in the fix. I've experienced all of that, right? So I get that. But I think at the end of the day, if you were to tell a person what you just told us, they would say, yeah, I mean, don't we all want that? Yeah, we want to connect. Yes, we would have to heal the world and love one another.
Right.
But that concept is so high and so broad. kind of synthesize it down to what Jason is really doing. I believe that you have something going. I just don't know that you've spent the time to articulate that and think about that. I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I would totally agree with that. And just watching the first half of your presentation has been a ton of food for thought for me already in that respect. You know, I shoot a lot. Yeah, absolutely. I shoot a lot of film as well. Lately, I've been shooting a bunch of film, and I'm posting that stuff to Instagram without much explanation, and I'm getting 12 likes. You know, and then I post a picture of my family, and I get 100 likes in an hour. So there's something missing, and I really appreciate the what you're doing here today, because as an artist, as somebody that does want to create work that is meaningful and lasting and speaks to people powerfully, I always want to be
and better. Jason, you just articulated what I would love to hear from every single artist and photographer out there, including myself. I want to grow. I want to learn. I want people to make my work better by their feedback and throw a little stone in my shoe, make me uncomfortable for a second. Let me think about it, right? Because God, let's be honest. This culture and this world and this technology has made us extremely lazy. There's no way around this powerful medium that we can click a button and send images and text all over the world instantaneously and without context, and then get this feedback from people, complete strangers, thousands of them sometimes, right? So I have like 30-some thousand people on Instagram that follow me, right? So every time I post a photograph, there's this thing like, you're going out to 30,000 plus. I mean, more than that, because all the social media, Facebook and all of them, right? Twitter, all of them. That is a powerful thing. And it's created a little bit of laziness in us, I think, right? It's created a little bit of, hey, they're kind of responding. I don't need to do a whole lot of intellectual work here. I'll just kind of keep doing what I do. I see people, if they get a little bit of response, they'll keep feeding that monster, kind of like an AI algorithm. They'll keep feeding that monster because we want those likes. We want that dopamine farm to click off every time. Who liked my photograph? Who is, we get it. We're human, right? So this technology is a blessing and a curse, right? It's made us, given us the ability to show our work around the world, and it's also made us extremely lazy. And I think, and there's nothing wrong with showing beautiful photographs. I think it's great, right? But the bottom line is you show a photograph and you say, this is just a beautiful photograph. There's no context or intention to it. This person or this thing was in front of my camera. I made a plate and it's gorgeous, and leave it at that. That's context and intention as well too, right? But what a lot of artists and photographers do that haven't delved down into the deep, hardcore critical thinking about what they're doing, they feed off of that, and it's easy to do. I've done it. It's easy to do. Thoughts go through my mind like, maybe I shouldn't make my own work. Maybe I should make work that appeals. I mean, people really love this, and people really love that. Commercial work that I've done, things like that just I don't have any connection to, that people really respond to. That's a real easy path to go down, because you can do it. You don't have to make anything up about it. You don't have to think about it. None of that. So I'm sorry. Let's go on to the. Anybody have anything on this image? Sorry, I'm going to back out. Anybody have anything for Jason on this? You can unmute yourself and get on if you do, or you can type it in the chat if you'd like as well too.
Yeah, give it to me.
The YouTube chat over here and the private chat both. Okay, let's go to the next photograph here real quick. New glasses, and I can't see.
So I really wish I would have picked better images, because now that I understand what this episode is about, I would have probably taken more time and picked some other images. I was just like, I'll show some of my work, and I picked a variety of 3 images. So I do a lot of portrait work. I don't do as much outdoor work or of what you're going to see next. I really enjoyed making landscape images and such, and that's been a real challenge with wet plate.
Excellent.
So yeah. This was at an event actually. This is Perry. He's one of the motorcycle mechanics at Spoken Moto. This was the 5x7 using an old Seneca folding camera, and it was in full sun, which typically you wouldn't do. But I personally, I just like the way that the sun interacted with the motorcycle. And
I think that's the most interesting thing about it, actually, is that chrome shining, and I love the white walls on the tires,
yeah.
which to me, and here's a great Perry's. That's a great photograph of him. He probably loved it. It's a great commercial photograph. The problem with these types of images is there's not a whole lot to say about them, right?
Exactly.
There's just it's a great photograph. It looks like it, maybe you got hired at a pop-up event somewhere to do these, people riding through on their bikes or whatever. Exactly. And that's kind of what I'd classify kind of as commercial work, if you will. And so the problem with commercial work is, it's a cool photograph, or it looks good or whatever, like we've said, but then the conversation stops. And for us, we want to continue that dialogue. We believe, or I believe, I should say, and I think most artists and photographer friends of mine believe this. We believe that art should be a catalyst or a vehicle to talk about life and to talk about those things you talked about, concept, connection and love and healing. Right. Art should be a vehicle to do that, right? To bring those topics up and to be a catalyst for discourse so we can have conversations about it. And the problem with commercial art, all you can do is say, that's technically a good image, it's well composed, blah blah blah. So I understand what you're saying, Jason. You can come back another time and pick another round of photographs that you feel it might be more appropriate, but this will still be good. And here's Jason's last one here. Tell us about this one, Jason.
So this is a little farmstead that I've driven by a bunch of times in Oregon, and made some film images of it. And I'd always wanted to capture it on wet plate. So I went and did that one day, and this is the result. Again, not much more to say. So, I think for me, transitioning to outdoor work has been, like I said, I mostly work under lights. I don't use strobes. I use CFL light boxes and continuous lighting. Mm-hmm. And personally, I like how my images come out that way. I've never had strobes. I haven't been able to afford them. So for me, working with CFL bulbs, as you saw in that first image, I just feel like I get better skin tones and there's some life to the images in a way.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, personally too. Yeah, nothing beats natural light, but CFL would be my second choice. Yes, I agree, especially on the skin tone thing.
Right.
I like this photograph a lot. Simply, it's a little bit overexposed, a little bit, and that's okay for this. I like this image. It is. It's well composed. It's got a very Western landscape, pioneer feeling about the image, and it's also a little bit frightening in a weird way. So, like, if you were to take a series of these things and talk about, the colonization of the West, or the homesteaders, or the pioneers, or something, and you start forming these sites up, and you start making images of them from the period and the period process and all that, this would be a really nice start to something that may be interesting that way. But this is just me kind of projecting again.
Well, if I could go back and shoot here again at this location, I was just happy to be able to drive by with my equipment one day and be able to capture this image. But if I was to go back, I would put a woman in the doorway, or I would find some other way to make it more interactive or more interesting, or have there be more of a story there. So it's it feels somewhat lacking in that way for me as well, because it's a stark, lonely building, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, and that's great, but there's no story. There's no, like you said, there's nothing below that surface level. And
well, I would say that, adding a human being wouldn't necessarily make it a story either. I would say that this is a portrait. This is alive. This doesn't need a human being. This shows that human beings have been here, right? This is the residue of human existence. These we don't have to fill every nook and cranny with a human being. We can show ideas of what we've done, or where we've been, or our marks, right? Those are really important concepts. This last project that I did, I didn't have one portrait in it. but I had tons of portraits of landscapes and objects. I called them portraits because in a way they were very much alive to me, because human beings have been there, done terrible things or good things. They've left their marks, all kinds of things, whether it's damage in nature or signs or buildings like this or windmills. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can think outside of the box traditional portraiture work and convey that over into portraiture landscape, is what I've been calling it, because the land is alive. These objects are residue of human beings being somewhere. And so you can tie that in without actually having a human there. I know we're human beings. Believe me, I connect with other human beings photographically. That's a human. I connect with that person, that human being, regardless. And what I've learned over the years to do is connect with landscapes, connect with those types of portraits, and think a little bit deeper about how the hand of man has been here, what they've done to the landscape, what they've built on it, how they've damaged it, whatever they've done, right? There's a lot of areas that you can go down here. And that's what I love about this. It's kind of a quiet, silent, leftover of some interaction at some period in time in this country's growth that means something to why we're sitting here on this computer now.
Old buildings and old cars, old things are one of my favorite subjects.
There you go. There you go. Right there.
I love it. And most of my film photography lately, 35 millimeter and medium format stuff, has been just straight up like hoods of cars and mirrors and just the details of that stuff. I love it. So, but as to speaking to what you're speaking about a second ago about conceptualizing, I personally am really interested in learning more about the process of conceptualizing a good piece of artwork. So if you haven't done something on that already, I would love to hear more about that.
Absolutely. That's a great thing. That's a great suggestion. And I think people get turned off by this art speak because they hear, first off, they don't feel like they can understand it. A lot of people don't go to galleries and look at artwork because they think it's above them, right? They won't say that, but that's how they feel because they don't understand it. And that's really a smokescreen for artists that don't have anything to say about their work. They want to cloud it and make it seem, they use all these, this is an ephemeral connection to the fleeting times that we live in. You know, they just, you know, they just BS. I call BS on you, right? Rather than saying, man, this is a burden that I have. I am intrigued with the human evolution and the progress. Look at this machinery. Look at this equipment. Look at this evolution of what we've done as human beings, you know, and coming up with something that the lay person can connect with. Art should be for the lay people, not the elite people sitting up with their big fancy, they're probably sitting in boxcars smoking big fancy cigars and drinking coffee like Johnny Cash is, right? But art should be accessible to the average person. I think that's really critical. And the artist or photographer can do that through the words, through the context, through the intention of their work, and draw them in and say, yeah, you may be talking about the evolution and progress of human beings through making machinery and equipment and buildings and showing all this stuff. But this dude was drawn in because he loves a 1957 Chevy, right? And the tail fin on it photographed or whatever. And that draws them in. Now you've got them. Now you can start leading them into your story or your narrative and start talking about what's concerning or what's beautiful or ugly or valued or whatever it is with your work. That's a beautiful thing. Rather than having someone be turned off by a gallery full of work with no statements and no information, no context, no intention, and walking in there and feeling intimidated and saying, you know, oh, look at this. Oh, yes. And having this superficial, really bullshit conversation about something they don't even understand because the artist hasn't even told them anything about it. So it's really important that we put this stuff in context. And thanks for sharing your images, Jason. I mean,
may I jump in, Quinn?
Oh, please.
Just before we switch over, just looking at this particular image, because I do a lot of landscape stuff myself. And looking at this particular image, for me, it really stood out because it just shows, I don't know if it's an abandoned place, but to me, it seems like it's been abandoned and the family or whoever that was there had just moved on. And they've just left this place And I just feel like this can, if you could go back there and do more shots of it, I'd like to see more what is going on around that whole place. Just seems really, it's like, I don't know, it's really powerful to me.
Thank you.
I just want to see more of it. Like, oh, what's happening? Is the back end of it is all rotted out? Is that a windmill thing that's all kind of collapsing?
Actually,
you know?
I have another image that I took inside. I walked into this building. The floor was all dilapidated, rat poop everywhere, and there was just a single chair, an old kitchen chair.
Oh, I just want to see more of it now.
I made an image of that chair with the window in the background, and I tried to get the windmill to come, through that image, but it didn't really expose on the outside. But yeah, I have a few other images of it.
Okay,
so.
Cool.
That's great. That's good stuff. Yeah. And we'll close out with Jason. Go to Sasha now, but one last question for Jason, and this is a big one, but I'm asking it in a rhetorical kind of way, and then I'm going to give you a little tidbit here. Why wet collodion? Why are you using the wet collodion process?
Do you want an answer?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm a craftsman. I work with wood. I've always used my hands. When I went with my partner and we had some images made by a guy that was playing around with wet plate collodion, I hadn't been in a darkroom in years and years, and the smells of all the chemicals just brought me back. And I was like, I have got to. And not only that, but the immediates of it and the tactile nature of the process itself for me is just so exciting. And so that's, for me, it's hands-on and it's immediate, and I get to interact with people, and that's why I love it.
Okay, that's awesome. Let me give you something that you might throw this little arrow in your quiver that you might want to pull out sometime. One of the things that I can tell you, and I've used this a lot, is that and especially Jeffrey brought this up, and it's really important, you're photographing an abandoned place with an abandoned process.
Yep.
In an abandoned time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to start connecting and threading these things together and really thinking about. I often tell people, stop making photographs for a little while and read and write and watch some documentaries and take notes and go to a quiet place and think about why you're really doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And you'll be amazed at both what you can reveal with your kind of quiet self and what the process will show you if you're in the right kind of frame of mind. It will actually kind of give you all kinds of ideas, just through the process itself. So there's the practice and there's the theory. And I say, maybe stop for a minute and think about why you're using the processes that you're using and why you're making the choices you're making. And one dot might lead to another, and pretty soon you have this kind of full rounded spectrum of ideas and concepts and potential work. So very good. Thank you for sharing very much.
Thank you so much.
Really great comments here. Renzo, first image made me think of a portrait of Julia Jackson by Julia Margaret Cameron. Excellent connection there. Linda says the image with the house by Jason is beautiful. I think, I can just put them up. I think I have, I think it has something. I look at it and I'm intrigued and want to know more. Just like Jeffrey said. Exactly. Nice work. And Will says, I explore some abandoned places. This image brings me feelings of almost anxiety, wonder what's in the dark window. And yeah, there you go. So there's some really good food for thought. Jeffrey said something basically the same thing there, and kind of how that image is they're reacting. Yes, the dark outer vignette in combination with the dark windows and doors is great. Yeah, there you go.
Great.
Good feedback. That's great,
everyone.
guys. Super. Thanks for sharing. And Boguslas says, very impressive work. The last one is the best for me. Perfect. Great. Thank you for sharing that and great feedback, guys. I appreciate you jumping in here.
Thanks, everyone.
So, thank you. Don't be afraid to come back and show us some more too.
I'd love to.
I'd like to do this at least 2 or 3 times a month if we can. If we don't have anything else going on. Here's my brother, Sasha. You jump on in here, brother. You have to unmute yourself because I can't unmute you. And tell us about yourself and tell us about what we're going to look at here. You there, Sasha?
Okay, I hope I did it right. Can you hear me?
Sehr gut.
Because my connection really is horrible.
You're all right.
I only hear.
Yes, you're good to
am
go.
I fine?
We can hear you. You're good. You take it away. Tell us about
Well, well, great. Yeah, that's my beautiful friend Susanne. She's a really natural beauty, and my photography is about. I said I'm looking for the essence of things, the essence of everything, the beauty that is inside of us. So I don't feel, as a photographer, I don't feel like an artist because I don't do art. I can see the art that is surrounding us, and I only capture it. It's a very
Gotcha.
easy job.
Yeah, and so when we're looking, if you were to classify or put your work, do you mainly work in portraiture? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I do portraitures, I do nudes, I do some still lives. I'm not that into landscape because I'm a lazy person and I don't really like to carry all the stuff around.
So if
So
you
I'm
were
a
to
studio
sum
guy.
up, is Susanna, is that her name? Yeah. If you were to sum
Susanna,
up her
yes.
photograph and you wanted someone, what is it that you'd want a viewer to take away from this image? If you could kind of summarize it in a couple of statements or a couple of sentences, what would it be that you would say, I want the viewer to fill in the blank looking at this image? What is it that you want us to get out of this image?
Well, Quinn, the thing is, I can't hear
Uh-oh.
you that well. I only hear parts of the sentence. I only hear.
Let's see. Let me see if yes.
So once more, please.
Let me see if we can resolve the technical difficulties here. I don't see. I think everybody's muted.
Quinn, perhaps you could type the question for him real quick.
Let's do that. He's in here. Let's do that.
Now I can hear you clearly, but sometimes.
Good. Okay, Sasha. If you one takeaway, the viewer, you have people looking at Susanna's this photograph. What would you say? What would you want the viewer to take away or think about looking at this photograph?
Look at her beauty, and you'll see.
Okay. What do you guys think?
I think I did my very best to capture the very special about her. About not only her look. I think my pictures, they go a little bit deeper, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
So what is it about wet plate that made you want to make a portrait of Susanna? Why wet plate? Why not film? Why not digital? Why not something else?
I think with wet plate, I can capture the soul of somebody, not only the look. I think wet plate goes deeper because wet plate is something. It's not something technical. There's a special relationship between the photographer and the model and this old technique.
Yeah. If I can, I'll give you something like I said with Jason. It is actually, when you say wet plate goes deeper, you're actually technically correct. So when you think about that statement, and you can use this, right? When you think about that statement, it goes deeper. And I understand what you mean, because in the 19th century, in America here, the Native Americans, the Indians, just thought that this stole a piece of their soul. When they saw their image on a piece of glass or metal, they thought a part of them had been stolen. So I understand about going deeper, but it physically does go deeper. You just saw the image of Jason's, the first portrait of his, the freckled lady. I bet you in real life she didn't look that freckled without the collodion, right? So collodion goes underneath the skin a little bit to the melanin. It goes, because of the UV, it goes down and it shows you what's underneath the skin. So technically you're correct. It does go deeper. It is
Yeah,
more.
you can capture more than your eye can see.
Yes, that's the idea. Those are the metaphors we build on. And so when we photograph interesting people or special people, and it's very revelatory or reveals something unique or special about them, part of that is the process helping you reveal that, you know? So there's a very, very important kind of idea to think about, if you will. I love the bokeh in the back, that bright, almost she's turning away from the light. There's a metaphor going on there. She's vulnerable. She's got her head down. There's something going on narratively that I can project onto it, but I can't tell you what it is. But the way that the image is composed, the light behind her head, and the way she's holding herself would reveal something you could build on as a narrative, so to speak, and a story about her or people like her, or friends and family, whatever she is. You said she's a special friend, so I would imagine that's probably something to go off of. But yeah, excellent, good. We'll that's great. And okay, tell us about this one, Sasha.
Yeah, now we're looking at a picture of my friend Zara. She's a photographer as well, as you can see on her back, and she really loves photography. And I call this picture, let's check my aperture. Excuse me, look at her back.
Yeah,
what's written on her back?
Yeah, I can't tell. I can't see what it says.
You can't see? She has F1.4, F2, 2.8 written on her back. Okay. It's a tattoo.
Okay, great. Yes, I see the tattoo.
Yeah, great.
She's dedicated. Yeah?
So, yeah.
Kind of like me, right? That one. Can you see that one, guys? Have I ever shown you guys this? That tattoo right there? It's a tailboard camera that I put on Archer's grave. Anyway, tell us about her. I don't know if Sasha's got a connection that's going to hold for us here.
My connection is very bad because it's with my iPhone, and actually I'm at work.
Oh,
and,
no!
I have a lot of noise around me, and the connection is bad.
Well, let's Sasha. We'll go through we'll go to the next one. We'll go through a couple of them, and we'll go back through. Everybody, take a look, and if you have something to offer Sasha, let's go ahead and give him that. This one I'm particularly interested in, and that one as well too. So anybody have anything for Sasha? We'll go back through these here real quick. The knife, the friends. I like the friends. The friends are interesting. Yeah, I couldn't see her little f-stop stuff on her back. That is interesting. I like the fish and the knife. Yeah. So, anybody have anything for Sasha on these? He can. I think he can sometimes hear us. But any feedback for him? Unmute yourself and.
I can hear you, but sometimes I don't understand the thing.
Okay. Well, Jan says great, Sasha. Thumbs up. Anybody in the live chat or in the live show want to talk about what they see or what they might be interested in? I know it's kind of hard without a little bit of technical difficulty, but
I like this one with the knife here for sure.
What is it that intrigues you about it?
Yeah, well, that's my friend Doug.
The contrast between the knife at his neck and the kind of the obvious connotations of that, but then he has this steely kind of look, which is almost more determined. It's like they're opposing sort of feelings there,
Yeah. And I thought you were going to go with, Caravaggio is one of my favorite painters, right? 16th century Italian. And this yin and yang, this dark and light side, this kind of humanity this dark side and this light side we all have. But this image starts to get to that just a little bit. You know what I mean? Anybody know who Caravaggio is? Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. But I notice if you look at Sasha's images, he has that. He has that kind of influence of Caravaggio going on, right? They're not these full lit scenes. They're very specific. They're lit up. Again, there's a Caravaggio or a evil and a good side to humanity. Those kinds of things that's what it makes me feel. I'm not sure about this one, but this one I do have similar feelings about, this kind of light behind her and her expression and all those kinds of things going on. But I will say this. Sasha, you have a painterly quality. And being European, that's not surprising to me. But you have a painterly quality to your work. And in other words, there's some throwback there, right? There's some connectivity, as we say, we thread back through art history. I can see some of those influences in your photographs. Now, whether you can articulate those or not, you probably can, but with the technical difficulties and the language.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just saying, I just see what I see. Wild Shone, especially back with Sun. Oh, Boguslav says, wildly beautiful, I guess, huh? Auf Deutsch. Back with sun marks. I do. There is something intriguing about that. I haven't quite articulated that yet, but there is something revealing about this. No pun intended. But Boguslav makes a great point, and we should talk about that a little bit. We have now the energy that makes these photographs. I know Sasha photographed these in a studio or with CFL or whatever, but we now have this energy that makes these photographs changing the color of human being skin. And now you have this otherly kind of tattoo from the sun on this person. And he's showing both the permanent ink tattoo and kind of the natural light tattoo. You know, one goes away, one doesn't, kind of thing. But it's interesting. You're right about that, Boguslav. I do. Now I'm really liking that that revelation of the sun, where the clothes, where she had her top on and she's out in the sun, and this certain part gets burned or tanned, and the other part remains the same. That's an interesting concept. You could build on that for sure. Interesting. Yes, good stuff. What else do we have for Sasha? Anything? My time is coming to an end here, I think. But very good stuff. Very good stuff. We appreciate that. You know, it's not easy to get on here.
Thank you.
Oh, vielen Dank for sharing. That's very, very nice. It's not easy to get on here and share your work with people. It's intimidating. I know. I get it. I understand that. No doubt. But for those that do, and more that will come, and I'm going to encourage most of you, to show work on here and to let people, and come back again. If you've shown, come back and show us your improvements. Let's talk about these things. Because the only way, my primary goal is to make my work better. And believe me, when I get going again up here, I'll gladly share my work and get your feedback on it and tell you the story and get that. Because if you live on an island or in a vacuum, so to speak, and you can't get feedback, and you're just getting likes and friends and family telling you how great you are, and that's good, that's wonderful, we need that love and appreciation, you won't be able to grow. It hurts a little bit. It hurts a little bit, right? We have growing pains. It hurts a little bit to do some of this stuff. And sometimes it hurts to hear that your ideas aren't translating through your images. It hurts that people don't like the technical aspects of what you're doing, right? But at the end of the day, what we can say is that we have really good and solid constructive feedback in groups like this, and people that participate, not only sharing their work, but even more importantly, people coming in and thinking about what's said and what's shown. People will learn from this, regardless of what you may never hear from them. Hundreds of them, thousands of them over time, maybe, will grow from this. Sharing the work, listening to people talk about their ideas. We all have something to say. It's just a matter of having people help us put that in a package that we can deliver most effectively and most powerfully to the audience. And so we have something to say. Sometimes it's difficult to figure out what it is we want to say. We know it's in here and it's in here, but we can't quite put it all together and get it out there. It's difficult. We don't have the words. We don't have the way to express it. So use this as a platform to share your work, look at other people's work, give constructive criticism, and help us as a community grow, help us as artists grow, regardless of what process we use. It doesn't even really matter in that context. What matters is we're encouraging one another and helping one another grow, and it can help a lot. So, let's put these up real quick for Sasha. Linda says, and thank you for joining us, Linda. It's wonderful to see you. I always like seeing you in here. I love the photo with the back of the woman, and the man with the knife is really interesting. It's almost like something leaving his head or body with a white effect over his head. It makes it deep. There you go. There you go. So what's really beautiful is people can start seeing things, or not start. People, if you share your work, other people can see, Sasha gave you a heart there, Linda. Other people can see things that you don't see. And this starts training your brain to think along different lines, to get out of that box, to get out of that same old kind of derivative stuff that we always do. Oh, people will like this. Oh, they won't like that. You know, this kind of feedback is really, really crucial. And second part is like suicidal. Yeah, exactly. It does kind of look like that. And Jan said the same thing. The fish and knife are strong. Life and death in the circle of nature. The eyes on the fish make it perfect. There you go. That's great. Great feedback, Jan, right there. That's good constructive feedback. He likes, here are the images he likes, and these are the reasons he likes them. That's all we need to do, right? That's all we need to do. So when images strike you and challenge you that way, give some feedback. So thank you so much. Thank you for the guests sharing your work. Next week, we'll do the same thing. I hope I have a little longer than an hour. I got to get over to the house here. I just saw the truck go by. We're emptying the garbage out and getting our stuff ready to pour some concrete next week and get all that stuff done. So thank you so much. I appreciate your support, your feedback, coming in and spending this hour with me every week is just wonderful. And thank you for buying my books, coming to my workshops, all that stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't ever forget. Don't ever think I'm not grateful. I'm thinking about you and I appreciate you. I'll see you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and enjoy your Saturday or Sunday. Bye-bye.